Strong Enough merch is now available. Go to strongenoughpod.com and see all the things that you can get to show your strong enough pride, as well as remind people and yourself that you are strong enough and you are worth it. Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people just like you. I'm your host, Claudia. Today, we are so excited because we are at episode number 100. And I have brought back some of your favorite guests to talk about everything from tattoos to chronic illness to scampering and whimsy. Please help me welcome Jenn Debeers and Russell Liu. Jenn and Russell, I am so excited to have you guys here today for episode 100. You two are two of the favorite guests, and not just of mine, but of our amazing audience. So I couldn't think of two better people that I would want to spend episode 100 with. And we have already been having such an amazing time together. I absolutely love it. Everybody's already got to know you guys because you have been on at least 4 episodes each. One of you may have 5. I'm not sure, but at least 4. So I would love it if you would just give us a little recap and update of what's going on. And Jenn, we're going to start with you. And first, I'm going to say your hair looks amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Hello. So a lot's happened, I think, from the last time I was on the episode. I had taken a new job. I have since taken another job. Well, promotion. So I am now head of operations for Pixis Drones, which is a drone light show company that is a subsidiary under the marketing agency that I was with previously. So I have been the fastest promoted person in my agency's history, which is pretty cool. And been traveling a lot, a lot. Unfortunately, I'm sick again with my Crohn's. I'm in a severe flare, so kind of trying to navigate that right now has been a little bit rough. My hair grew back, and it's longer than it was before when I lost it, which is fantastic. And I'm currently sitting in Portland right now. I was just checking on some assets out in Portland for a client of mine that I made. We did a 16-foot spider for them last year, and now we're making employee appreciation gifts for them for a game studio, which is really cool. So that's life at the moment.
I love it. I remember that spider, so that's pretty cool. And if you have not been able to catch one of these Pixis drone shows, they are super amazing. So, as Jenn said, she travels all over the country, does them for all different events. So yes, check that out, look it up, see what you can find. Russell, first off, I want to say you're actually representing your company today, so I'm stoked about that. I almost wore that shirt, so we would have been twinsies. Tell everybody what's going on with you.
Just still tattooing, so never. I don't think I'm gonna ever stop that. But doing very well. We got some good praises from the head company of how well I'm doing and how fast I'm doing things. So that's awesome, and how I'm progressing. Just living life, and I just came back from a great vacation with the family in Florida, so I'm kind of winding down from that, and I need a vacation from the vacation. But other than that, it's just working hard and hustling like I normally do. So it's just been that way. Sarah is fantastic. Sarah actually got a job with Revolt. She's one of the co-managers over at Fashion Show. So she's doing fantastic with that, still doing her Etsy, so she's still creating those paintings and those spirit jerseys. So doing well, just living life and ready to see what's coming up next. So I'm being prepared for it.
Sarah's Etsy is amazing. I will second that. I'm so glad she's at Revolt now. And I want to echo everybody's sentiments that your tattooing has just been amazing because I was there for like one of the first official tattoos. I was one of the first official. I know that we had some stuff before that, but one of the first official tattoos, and the work that you are doing is phenomenal. So I would highly recommend, like, I'm always going to promote my boy Joey, but I would also highly recommend if you're in Vegas, look Russell up, especially if you want a patch tattoo. Your patches are phenomenal. And secret, it won't be a secret anymore. Russell is getting ready to do a sparkle tattoo on me.
It'll be fun. It'll be real fun.
I'm excited.
I can't wait to see that, actually. I'm excited about that.
By the time this episode airs, I will have it. So I will be able to show it to people. But yeah, Russell, he said, what do you think about a sparkle tattoo? And Shay and I, because Shay and I have matching tattoos that we got. They're little candy hearts. They say salty. It's a long story. It's on an episode somewhere that we have discussed it. But it represents a bunch of things that she and I did together during travel. They're purple and they just don't look great. And I think it's not the artist's fault, but we have to redo them. So we were talking about what to do, and Russell said, what do you think about a sparkle tattoo? And both Shay and I were like, I've never heard of such a thing. Please send more info. And he sent us a picture, and sure as shit, it looks sparkly. So we are going to have sparkly candy hearts that still say salty.
Yes.
And in Raiders
I like
colors.
It. And Raiders.
So
Does Shay like Raiders?
she's already agreed to the tattoo.
I think she just likes the black sparkle. How about that? We'll
Yes. Yes,
We'll
for her it doesn't have to be Raiders colors. She's not a Raiders fan, but that's okay. I believe she's a Cardinals fan, Arizona. So she's from there originally. Yeah. So that's that.
I'm excited though. I'm really excited for it to do that because I love seeing the differences between that stuff. So I think it's gonna look great. I know it's gonna look great.
I know it's going to look great. And you're doing a patch for Lee on the
Mhm.
same day. So yeah. So Jen, at some point, you're going to have to
I know.
go
I was
see
like,
Russell.
God, I feel like I have to.
Like,
I have to come out there. Like,
Come on.
so how many tattoos have you done of Claudia's, Russell?
1, 2, 3. Ghost,
mhm,
G, and then the cover up
okay.
that I did personally.
His work really is amazing. And I'm one of those people, like, I don't really have a technical eye, but I will now like zoom in and look at line work and things like that. And Russell's work is just good. Like, it's solid. When it's supposed to be vibrant, it is vibrant and colorful. I appreciate that you do a lot of different styles. So, and a lot of fun and whimsy. And I can't even believe I just said that word, but I did. So whatever. But a lot of your tattoos have that element of whimsy. I said it twice. Because they're like so
Do you not
fun.
like the word?
No.
Oh,
Just
okay.
like I don't like when football announcers say that a player scampered. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He is a big dude. They don't scamper.
Yeah, how would you even use the word scamper in football games?
He scampered across the goal line.
Yeah. He scampered down to the end zone. Yeah, it unnerves me every time because like squirrels, they scamper. Buster maybe scampers on occasion. Football players don't. So
They
Words.
run with intentionality, like a freight train.
right. Barrel
That's much
down
better.
the
I like that.
Yes,
sideline.
barrel down the road, down the field. That's probably better than scampered. Yeah, scampered
So,
definitely sounds to me more like like you're in Snow White and like with all the
right.
animals.
I'm
Scampered
not
across
watching the
the forest
Nutcracker.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
come on. Things
Oh
that
my god.
annoy me. Things that
So,
annoy me. Scamper in a football context.
so
Whimsy.
speaking of this, so yesterday I went to Crater Lake with my friends. And we're walking around where the visitor center is, so of course there's a lot of people there, and we see this chipmunk, and I swear to God, it's the fattest chipmunk I've ever seen in my life. Like, buddy. Oh, and he saw people, and he comes right up, like he scampers right up to you, and he was like, got up on his little hind legs, and you could tell he's like begging. And both of us were like, not today, homie, not today. So then we ended up going to the other side of the lake to do a hike, and there's not as many people there, and the chipmunks there, not fat. Like they are. I'm like, buddy, all the good food's on the other side. Just start trekking on the other side. But that just made me think about that when you were talking about the scampering, because I saw, and they don't call them chipmunks. I forget what the word is. It's like some type of like ground squirrel that they call. I don't know. It was like I'm not kidding. So like the specific park has a different name for chipmunk. I'm like, nah, bro, that's definitely a chipmunk.
It's a
Like
chipmunk.
I know it's in a national park, and you want to be all fancy and stuff. That's a chipmunk.
They are super cute until they are in your house. Speaking from experience, Breckenridge, the door to my condo had like a little gap under it. I mean, like that, the front door, and it was an indoor entrance. So, like, you had to go in the building and then go in your door. Yet somehow, a chipmunk scampered in and scampered into my condo. And they are not cute when they're in your space. And I'm trying to think of how to catch them, because it's just me there. Lee was back in North Carolina. So, like, I'm dealing with this. And I'm like, how do I do this? So, the only thing I had that I thought he might like were some curry nuts. I said I didn't have regular, I just had the curry. Um, he sort of liked them. I think he didn't really love the curry flavor. But I never could catch him. And so I'm like, well, I guess now I have to go to sleep. But like, am I going to wake up, National Lampoon style with this dude like right here on my face? So I didn't really sleep well that night and somehow was able to usher him out the door the next day and then promptly purchased, they make them, a door thing that goes on the bottom. It's not an anti-chipmunk thing, but that's what I used it for. So
You should totally market it that way, though. I
I
feel like there's a
agree.
market for it.
Yes. So that's
Yeah.
my chipmunk story. Russell, do you have a chipmunk story of any kind?
I don't, but I was thinking, I was like, how do I bring like dad humor into this? Because I would have done like some Disney thing, like captured another chipmunks, had them up there, be rescuers down under this way, and I was just thinking of this whole elaborate thing. I'm like, where'd my mind go for this?
Do you remember that game Mousetrap?
Yeah,
Like,
You would
yes.
have set up like a Mousetrap style.
something so
I think
elaborate that I didn't need to,
any
but
man would have done that. Like, let's just be honest. Any man would have done that. Where us women are like, all right, let me get a broom. Let me like
Right.
beat the crap out of this thing. Let me get a cup and put it over it. And you got the guys over here like, I can engineer this whole thing to like make a trap. And like, you open the door when Lee comes home and it's going to have, the thing come down the train and this is going to drop. Right? Am I wrong?
No, not wrong at all. Have you ever seen
100%
the squirrel?
correct.
Have you ever seen those score things where they have like the bungee thing all set up, and then they have the food right there, so all they do is click, and then they shoot the squirrel? Yeah, that's all up here, all up here. It's good stuff.
Oh, God. Look, there is a difference between men and women.
Right.
We don't think the same.
And here it
Like,
is.
I even sit and watch. Like, I was watching my cousin's little boy and little girl. They're both two years apart from each other, and just the difference in how like they even just walk down the street. Whereas like Liam is like, I got to jump on top of this half wall and do a spin and land and then jump off the curb and then jump back on the curb. And I'm like, and the little girl is just Emma's just walking, just walking.
But did
I
she
was like,
scamper at any point?
she probably did, actually. She probably more skipped than scampered. Although I don't really know. Maybe we should look up the difference between skipped and scampered.
I think we should. We don't have to do it right now, but yeah, I need to know. I don't
Yeah.
want to see football players skip either.
Unless they're doing their touchdown dance. Then
That's
they
fine.
can skip and scamper. How about that?
Yes, they can skip and scamper in the end zone following either a touchdown, a safety, or an interception or a turnover. I'll give just turnover.
They
There you
need
go.
to start allowing them to do backflips again. That was always fun.
Can they not now?
Well, I thought it was just over. I not a sports fan, but I think isn't it over celebrating?
Well,
They
in
can't celebrate
college,
too
you
much.
can't celebrate.
Yeah, if you
College
do, great.
kids should be able to celebrate. They're kids. They're generally
Yeah.
18 to 22 years old. Now, some of them somehow this year are like 26 or 27, or there might even be a 28-year-old. Whatever. Not for me to judge, but they're kids. They should be able to celebrate to some extent. Like 10 seconds. Give them 10 seconds of joy when they do something good.
I do the happy dance when I do a tattoo when I'm done with it.
Do
So I
you?
don't know. I
Every
do.
single tattoo.
Most of the time, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good, and then I'd stop, and then everyone looks at me weird, and that's it.
I don't know that I've seen this.
Yeah, I've done it with you.
Okay. I hope so.
I think the client never really sees it because they're always admiring their own tattoos. So
I'm going to
yeah.
look for it this time. I'm going to look for it. Jen, I know that you're in the planning phase of your next tattoo, and that planning phase could last anywhere from 2 to 7 years. Have we narrowed down a time frame?
Not really. I think also just because I got sick again, I don't think until I go back into remission, I probably shouldn't do like I'll be honest, I got cupping done 4 weeks ago. Like
Mhm.
4 weeks ago yesterday. I still have remnants of a bruise. So like my healing process is just so slow right now that like it probably wouldn't be smart. But I have been thinking a lot, and I want it to be something along the lines of like tying in my love of hiking, um, and like kind of maybe like a journey, like also like a journey of life, like a winding road or something along those lines. So I have been thinking about it. So this one might be a little bit sooner, but I just need to be in remission before I can probably pull the trigger on it.
I want to take a moment to talk about what you just mentioned, and we did chat about it earlier before we kind of started recording. You being sick again with your chronic illness, which is Crohn's. And we were joking earlier because I said, oh, but Jen, you look fine. You don't look sick. And I want people to know that nobody wants to hear that when they have a chronic illness, and particularly an invisible chronic illness. You may think that you are giving them a compliment, but we want to punch you in the face or throat when you say that. It is not a compliment. So it is much like a dick pic. Nobody wants it. So nobody wants to hear, but you don't look sick, or, oh, you look fine. Anything along those lines, please don't say it. If you don't know what to say, just say, I'm really sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, I think that is the best advice to give to somebody, because you don't, again, like, it's an invisible disease, so like you don't see the outward sometimes. And like, I think, like, so you posted the other day about, you get up and like you put your makeup on and you get dressed because it makes you feel better. And I noticed that I would say a couple weeks ago, um, one of our drivers was like, "Are you wearing makeup?" And I don't normally when I'm out in the field because it's hot and I'm sweating and whatnot. But I was like, I've started wearing makeup again because it makes me feel less sick. So maybe I look healthier, because I've got that makeup glow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is. Or like, oh my gosh, you've lost some weight. You look really good. And I'm like, yeah, not intentional. But
Right.
thanks. Or this one, oh my gosh, I wish I was as skinny as you. And it's like, oh gosh, you don't, like, I know people are well intentioned on that, but like that one's probably one of the ones that it gets me the most is,
Mm.
oh, you're so skinny. You must not have to work that hard at it. And it's like, no, actually, like, I can't keep food down or in, so that's the reason why.
Right.
Like,
It's not a fun
and then they're like,
process.
right, believe me, no. So yeah, I think it's, having a little bit of compassion and watching what you say sometimes to people. And I know we're all human, and, try to give people some grace too. But yeah, like, if somebody says, hey, I'm dealing with something and I'm really sick right now, like, that is the worst thing to say, is like, oh, but you look fine. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, do you want to see the pictures of my colonoscopy? Because it's not fine. Like, here, would you like me to start pulling? You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to download those on my phone. And be like, oh, I look fine here. Would you like to see this?
I'm going to do that with my bladder and my inner stem. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, there
I
we go.
love it. Russell, it doesn't have to be chronic illness related unless you have something, but what is something that you hate it when people say to you?
It's just piggybacking off of what you guys say. I mean, I don't have a chronic illness. I am sorry that you guys have to go through that stuff because it literally kills me every time I hear it. But it's like a little bit like with like depression, um, and any type of anxiety. That stuff people don't, you know, understand. Some people don't understand that, and for them to be like, "Oh, but you're so happy," or things like that. And that kind of irks me a little bit at certain times. But other than that, it's exactly what you guys are saying. It's like, oh, hold on, let me sit down. We're gonna have a conversation, you know. And but most of the time too, you nod your head and you just move on to the next thing because you don't want to unleash all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's it's more of that. So like I feel exactly how you guys feel on some cases where like, oh, what are you so sad about? Or what do you you're living the life. Like, what are you doing? Like, I see you at Disney all the time. And I'm like, well, that's a coping mechanism for me right now. So yeah, but I feel that.
So like, somebody that's dealing with anxiety, because like, I have people in my life, and I've not dealt with chronic anxiety. I've dealt with, more anxiety dealing with like a certain situation or dealing with my illness or whatnot. Like, so what is an appropriate response to someone who has anxiety? Like, so somebody like me who doesn't deal with it on a daily or regular, it's not chronic to me. Like, what do you want to hear from someone, especially a loved one, or like your wife, or, a really good friend, Claudia, myself now, since we're friends?
Uh, the I'm sorry, hey, I'm sorry that you're going through this. Is there anything I can do to support you? Um, there's one thing, like the anxiety part is Sarah. Sarah has this like crippling anxiety that literally, if she gets one of those episodes, it's one of those things where she cannot get out of bed. Um, and none of her family, I'm not calling them out too much, but not her family doesn't see that. You know what I mean? Or it doesn't comprehend for them. Um, when I first met Sarah, I didn't comprehend it. It was one of those things where I'm like, just get up, like do something. Like I'll take you. You know, let's And I was saying the wrong thing. So saying, "Oh, it's all in your head. Don't worry about it," or "Just get up, just do something." Just those type of comments I've learned where those are not helpful whatsoever. Even though I had the purest intentions, like if I knew that she was really anxious about going on a trip or something like that, I'll be like, just come with me. You're safe with me. Just come with me. I'll keep you safe. And it's more than that. Um, Knowing that I'm there helps out tremendously, but it is one of those things where it's like uh, I've had to change my approach to how I say things because I was that person. I was just get up. Like, what are you doing? Just do that, do this. But I've also started to learn to say, I don't deal with it. You know what I mean? Because I feel that just a quote unquote deal is a bad way of saying it. So that's why I always say I just support. Like I'm
Okay.
here to support you. I'm not. I goes. When people ask me how do you deal with it, I was like, well, first of all, I don't deal with it because dealing with it means that I have a problem with it, and I have a problem with her. I don't deal with it. I support her for it. So I changed a little bit of some verbiage to help out with that. So
No, that's really helpful. So my boyfriend deals with like debilitating anxiety and panic attacks, and a lot of it stems from like he's a police officer in traffic homicide, and just a lot of the things that he has seen. So this is helpful. That's the reason why I asked. So
I I will take it another step, because I deal with the anxiety and PTSD as well, and I have a tendency to isolate. So when I get bad, kind of like where Sarah can't get out of bed, I'm in a similar state and I will isolate. So I will even like close the door literally and not answer my phone, like not respond to texts or the funny, memes and videos that people send me. Looking at you, Jen. Um, so one of the things that Lee has started doing is sort of like a gentle, he will open the door. Like he won't come in necessarily, but he'll just open the door so that I'm not completely isolated in a sense. But I think that goes along with what Russell said of just being supportive. He'll try to do these little things that aren't, well, just get out of bed. You're fine. Like it'll be okay. But he'll just do little things to try to break down the isolation that I'm building. So I don't know if that's helpful at all, but
no, very helpful.
that's something that he has started doing, and it it does help because it's nice to know that somebody's there, but not right there
Being
with
intrusive.
right, and going like, "What can I do to help? What do you need? What do you want? What do you like?" I want everybody to go away. Like I want to just lay here. So it's been a nice like small way to show support, but not be intrusive. That's a great word for it. So
Sarah does that when, like, if I get into one of my depression episodes, and they last a a, a good time. They last a pretty good time. Sarah will ask, as if everything is okay and everything else, and I'm like, no, I just need to kind of like, I need to just be right now. So at that point, just for the experiences that Sarah and I have, that at that point, Sarah doesn't berate me with questions of like, what can I do, what is this, what is that. She does the slight things, like she knows that if we're sitting on the couch, she'll put her hand on me and just rub my leg, or play with my hair or something like that, where I'm just sitting there and doing nothing. Sometimes it's like I that's exactly what I need at that very moment, or sometimes I'm just like, thank you, but I need to just be here. But she does those slight things like, she gets me a cup of water or something like that and just puts it in front of me and just be like, here, whenever you need it or whatever. It's just, so those little things help out tremendously. Those little things, even
Okay.
though they are super tiny, they are so meaningful.
Concur.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is very helpful. And I feel like that's going to be helpful for other people too. I mean, like there's just so many people I feel like now that just deal with anxiety, especially post pandemic. And, it's hard to understand it if you don't go through it. Like I said, I've dealt with it just more from like a more acute standpoint of things, as opposed to dealing with it like on a chronic basis. And it's hard to understand from a person who doesn't deal with it. And like, how can I, like, because I'm a fixer, I want to help, I want to fix problems. Like that's literally in my DNA. And so for me, it's like, well, why can't I fix this for you? And so like, and who knows, it might not be fixable. So like, okay, pivot and how, like, so how can I show my support? Because the way I feel like I show support might not be the way he needs to have the support, and I think that also goes to like learning your communication styles and learning, a big part of it is like your love language too. Like how do you feel needed and loved versus how do you show that you love a person and care about a person. So I think it's helpful.
And I was one of those people that didn't understand it, before I had it, and I kind of had that mindset of, well, I mean, you just feel bad. So, like, why can't you just get up and get going and then you'll feel better? And now I understand that, like, it's something in your brain and you literally just can't make it happen.
It's a playing field that now is starting to get a little bit more noticeable, but especially with like what Jen says, post pandemic. I mean, I
Mhm.
wasn't like this until after the pandemic. So it's just one of those things where it's like, it's getting more knowledgeable, I guess you would say, but then still people still don't know how to really deal with it. Wrong word, but I'm just saying, but to them it's like dealing with
Yeah.
it, right?
Mhm.
Um, they don't know it, they don't understand it. So
Do either of you have a favorite episode? And it can be one of yours.
everyone's like, hold on, let me think.
I know, because like it'd be hard for me too. So,
I think I don't remember what her name was, but the girl that did like the yoga.
oh, Amy.
Yes, Amy.
Okay, Amy Stevens.
Yes. Yes, I really liked her episode, actually. I feel like I got a lot out of it, and I really enjoyed like your interaction with her.
It was one of those things where I was driving. I got off work early, and I was driving home, and I was watching the live. It was the two gentlemen.
Marcus and James,
I think those guys, listening to them and listening to their positivity on how they view things and how
right?
what helps them out. I think that was a great one. Do you have tattoos, Jen?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
I do. I have one, two, three, four, five.
And one
So
day she's gonna
yes,
get another, but she's a planner.
I am a planner. I
Yeah.
think about them for a very long time, and then like I have my entire back done. It's a lighthouse, and I thought about that starting in 2015, and then got it done in 2020. So um, yeah,
It's good. I mean, at least you have an idea. I mean, that's one of the good things. You know what I mean? It's one of those where clients come in and say, I don't know what I want, and I'm just like,
Well, do you want
okay.
me to figure it out? I mean,
Well, I mean, that then I just started pulling out the clowns and say, okay, let's do this one, and they're like, no, I don't want a clown. I'm like, well, what do you want?
let's
right,
start there
right,
then.
yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna yeah. I definitely I think about mine. I want mine all to have like significant meaning, to me, and so I definitely do think about them for a long time. Even my first tattoo, I had it drawn when I was 16 and didn't get it done until I was 18. Or I'm sorry, until I was 19. So I wanted to make sure it was like
For sure,
Like,
for
this is
sure.
permanent, guys.
My first tattoo is covered up, so I get it.
Mine too.
Is it really? What
Yeah.
was it?
It was 90s tribal. That was my first.
Ah,
Yeah. And then I decided to just trade up with Polynesian tribal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's already been I
Respect.
got that shoot when I think I didn't even get my first tattoo until I was like 20.
Oh, I was 17.
you got
I
Hmm.
in
get
South Carolina for that one.
Uh, so so this is my nerd tattoo. This is how big of a nerd I am. I got it in North Carolina, which the age is 18. I had a fake ID, but I am so nerdy that I called the tattoo place and I was like, "Do you check IDs?" So they're like, "Yeah." Well, I get there, boldly with my fake ID, and they never looked at it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so it was kind of funny. Um, Also the fake ID that I whipped out once at the bank. So that was a moment where I was super nervous. So, and then I wanted to complain on them because so I go into the bank to cash a check. And so we go in, give it to him, give him my ID. She's writing down like the driver's license number. And as she's writing it, I look at it and I'm like, oh shit, that's not my ID. I can't even remember the girl's name. But like, yeah, so it was a fake ID that did not have my name on it or my
Right.
picture. So she's writing, and I'm like, oh God, like what is this gonna be? Is this gonna be like, how much trouble am I getting ready to be in here? And then I'm thinking like, oh, I'll just make something up. Like I had my friend's idea. I don't know. Well, then she handed it right back to me and gave me my money. So then I was like, well, now I'm angry because I just gave you an ID with not even the right name that matches the check, and you just gave me all this money. I did not complain, but I kind
you
of
could have
wanted to.
you could have gone in there and go, I'm a secret shopper. I
Yeah,
gave you the wrong ID.
right.
Look what you did to
Mm,
me.
I was testing you. You failed. So, yeah, that's my best fake ID story.
I never had one.
man, I
Really?
had one.
Did you? See, I never.
Yeah, I didn't really need it though, because like working in the Greensboro like bar, I already worked in the bar industry, so like everybody kind of knew me anyway. So
Right.
it was for a moment when we went out of town, and again, dating myself because used to go to Myrtle Beach because that was the it place to go.
It still is for
And
some people.
yeah, well, that's true. And yeah, so I had one, and it was a girl that I was probably about 200 pounds heavier than what I am. She had curly hair and had blue eyes, and that was probably about it. And I would just be like, people would be looking and be like, I'm really sensitive about, okay, guys, I used to be really big and I lost a lot of weight. Like, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And it was just,
See, that's a good
so
tactic. That's a good
yeah, the
tactic.
deflection. Like nobody wants to fat shame people. So like, that
I
was that was my tactic back when I had my fake ID.
I love that.
Um,
I
so-
so I went on official visits. I ran track in high school and well, since I was 3. But so I went on official visits to colleges. So when I went to UNC, I'm about to call out UNC because well, I hate them anyway. But they pair you up with like people on the team. So like people who are already on the track team, they pair you up with them. They plan everything. So, like, we went to dinner and then we went out. So, they had for me a fake ID
right.
so that we could all go out. Yeah. So at that time, I would have been 16, because I was 17 when I graduated. So, I would have been 16, and their idea of an official visit, was to take you out and give you a fake ID. And I don't think I probably drank, but I'm sure I didn't get drunk. But yeah, like that's UNC. They also had people who would do your classwork for you. You had to go, so when you were there for your first year, you had to go to study hall as an athlete. You had to go to study hall. So I can't remember if it was every day or like 3 times a week or whatever, but you had to go. So, and study hall was at the football field house. So I would go to study hall and they would be like, okay, like what assignments do you have? Like, what are you working on? And I'd be like, oh, I have to write this paper. I have to do this. I have to do this. And they would say, oh, well, do you want me to write the paper for you? Do you want me to do this for you? Do you want, and I was like, no, like I can do it. But and I was just track. So I know they've had some heat in recent years over academic issues. And Russell, you might not be aware of that because you're probably not familiar with UNC. Jenn is, because she's from North Carolina or lived there for a lot of her life. They, in recent years, have been in some hot water for basically having like a fake class. So they had this class, and it was known that, like, as an athlete, you could sign up for that class and, like, you didn't really have to go and you'd get your A. So I can attest that they do some shady shit when it comes to their athletes, or at least they used to. Can't say what they do today, but I can say that they were going to do all my work for me. So,
How long did you go there for?
just a year. I really
Okay.
didn't like it at all. And a lot of it was the size. Like, my classes had more people than my graduating class had.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, I would have classes with 200 people in it,
hmm
and that just wasn't my style. Like, so I just wouldn't go most of the time because nobody cared.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, so and I didn't love the Tar Heels before I went there. I went there because when we're young, we make silly decisions. And Florida State wanted me to run cross country and track. And I was kind of a little bit over cross country. And UNC said I could just run track. So that was my deciding factor. So I was there a year. I did not like it. I did write my own papers and moved
Well,
on. So
that's so funny. I never knew that about you. So I actually applied to go to UNC and got
really?
in. Yeah. And then I decided, because at the time their exercise science program was crap.
Okay.
I went to UNCG because at the time they had the #1 program in the nation, and so that's the reason why. So we almost went to college together. So we could have met before our promo
Right?
days. So
Gosh. We
Well, I
just
was just about
wasted
to ask
all
that.
these years.
yeah.
Uh, I
What
was
were
just
you?
about to ask that because I was like, besides the sports thing for UNC, because that's everyone knows the sports thing. What else are they known for? I mean, part of my ignorance, but I don't know much about North
Their
Carolina.
medical and law school are really highly rated.
Okay.
UNC. So I would even say, I mean, like, and obviously their sports. I mean, basketball obviously is like huge for them. So
And they're a decent
uh
football school now.
yeah, they were so this is a random fact. So when I used to work at Olive Garden back when I was in college, one of my managers was on the national championship team for UNC that won for football back in the 70s. And he brought his ring in for me to see one day. I was like, dude, that's so cool. He goes,
That's
yeah, that was the last time they
cool.
actually were really good at football. So
So there
they were
was
good
a
at one point.
time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they've kind of had waves. Like,
Yeah.
they've been decent, they've been terrible, like they've never been great, I guess since the 70s. But yeah, their hospitals, so not only their medical program, but their hospitals are pretty amazing as well. So I'm not going to hate entirely on the school, just mostly. I'm going to mostly hate on it. But their basketball team is good. Their medical and legal
Yeah.
programs are good, and their hospital is really good. It's basically if you're like really ill with some certain things, you're either going to UNC or you're going to Duke, kind of
Yep.
depending on what the medical issue is. So,
Correct. Very much so.
Going
We
back
had
to
I had the same.
Olive
Oh, go
Garden
ahead.
and won a championship. I mean, I guess not that big of a football team.
Well, I mean, he never went pro or anything. I mean, like and I'll be honest with you, managers at Olive Garden made really good money. So, our GM was making a good six-figure income.
Oh wow.
Like,
okay.
oh yes.
And that would have been a
I
minute
mean,
ago. I don't want to work there, but I do love it. I love the salad. The breadsticks are amazing. I have a funny Olive Garden story.
okay.
Oh,
So, Alicia and I, call her Boo, went to Olive Garden one day, and we were actually in Texas, and we had just secured a big account with EMI, and Nick was there, and Nick is the owner of the company.
Okay.
So we're all going to go to Olive Garden, we're going to celebrate, whatever. So Nick says like he'll be like right behind us. So we get there, and because he's going to be there in just a couple minutes, to avoid making things awkward, we sit on the same side of the booth. So there's
Okay.
us, and then there's the empty side, because that's going to be for Nick.
Great.
So we order our drinks, we order an appetizer, and we're just like eating our little appetizer, drinking our drinks. Nick still has not showed up. We eat our entire appetizer. We like finish round one of drinks. And then we're like, was he ever going to show up? So the waitress like clears the plate. So there's no indication that we've had any food yet. And finally, Nick shows up. So we're like, we're just not going to mention that first appetizer and drinks. Like, we're just going to start fresh here with Nick. So that's what we did. But then we were also joking, like, how many of these people, like, we feel like we're on a prom date because we're on the same side of the booth together.
Right.
Nobody on the other side. We're like, these people probably think we're weirdos. What are we doing? So ever since then, whenever we travel together, we always take prom photos. So we will take like the old school, like one person in front. Yes. Yes. Everywhere we go now, we take stupid prom photos, all stemming from the time that we sat on the same side of the booth waiting for somebody who took like an hour to show up. No hate on Nick. He's busy. But he never mentioned the app or drinks on the bill either. So that was awesome.
I
So
wonder
that's
if
my
he
Olive
even
Garden.
noticed it.
Probably
Like,
not.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
I
I don't
don't
know. I
think
can't tell you how many times I've taken out clients and stuff too, and I don't even. I don't look at the itemize. I'm just like, all right, cool. Here's my card. Like,
right. Like
just,
here, yeah. Here's the
you
card.
just you
Go.
look at the final number and
yeah,
like, hey, am I going to get in trouble for this or ask her it? Here you go.
yeah.
It
I'll
doesn't
ask for
matter.
forgiveness, not permission at this point.
There you
So,
go. There you go. So
I'm
right.
I'm totally not a same side sitter. You're always on the other side. And the only time I'm ever a same side sitter with my date or Sarah or whoever I'm with is literally we're double dating somebody or something like that.
right.
Something. I have to see front to never side to side. Never.
I will be a same side sitter if here are the parameters. So sometimes there's like the booth, and on the other side it's like crappy chairs.
Oh, okay,
It's like
yeah.
a long but so
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah.
be a same side sitter because like nobody wants to sit in the crappy chairs, and so then you feel like an asshole if you're like, you sit in the crappy chair. So I will accept same side sitting in that scenario.
I always if it's that type of environment, the lady always sits on the couch. I don't know. I know you looked at
Russell,
you tilt your head
no,
like this.
that reminded me of something. I was at a networking event last week, and I was talking with this gentleman. He's a mortgage broker. I won't name his name, but he was very nice. And somehow we got on the topic of chivalry. And he was very much, like, oh, yes, open the door, do this, do that. And I was saying, how I'd had a conversation on the podcast about it with a friend of mine who felt like chivalry was dead or dying because, so many men don't do it. And then so many women take it as, no, I don't need your help. I'm independent. And we talked about how it's like, it's not about that. It's about respect or just being kind. And I said, I can't wait to tell my friend that here is another gentleman who believes in chivalry. So, Russell, I'm telling you now, it's not dead. There's
It's
at least
not.
one more guy.
So, quick story about that. So, when I was down in Florida just recently, I met the boyfriend of my daughter,
Hmm.
and I pulled him to the side after dinner. Like everything, we're about to say goodbye to everybody and everything else. So I pulled him to the side, and he has this like scared face, like, oh my
Of
god, what is he gonna do, right? So I go through the whole thing, and I talk to him like, really got to, take care of, treat her good, treat, open doors and stuff like that. So I was like, kind of giving the whole chivalry, like, this is what I expect, and this is what you should do. You know what I mean? As the father, right? So, but yeah, we had that conversation too, and he's like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." I was like, "I will open up the door for her," and I was just like, "Oh," like in my head, I'm like, "Good kid, all right." But in front of my face, I was like, "I don't mind going back to prison." So, but that was always fun.
Jen, to my
I think
knowledge,
it's
he has not been in prison.
oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I
No,
mean, I think it's important, to be honest with you. I would say my boyfriend is very chivalrous. Like he opens every door for me, every car door. He I think it goes a long way. I don't think it from a perspective of being a female who considers themselves to be a very independent and strong person. Like it doesn't offend me like at all. I actually like it. I mean, it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of like thoughtfulness and caring, in my opinion. So
I'm offended when women are offended.
yeah, you know what? We could do a whole podcast on being offended.
Yes.
Just
Yes, because a lot
I'm
of
offended.
shit
You're
offends
offended.
me.
I think that would be a 2 hour, maybe a three
Oh
hour.
god, it'd probably be like that would be like a whole series. Like at this point.
So, Jen, let's get your opinion on this because Russell and
Okay.
I, along with Shay, had this conversation.
Okay. Let's do
How
it.
does your boyfriend handle the double door? So the door and then like the vestibule and the door. So like at Olive Garden. If nobody's there
Okay.
to open one.
Okay. So he'll usually open the first one,
Mhm.
and I think it depends. If I walk faster and I grab that door, then he'll immediately take it from me. Or if my hands are full or if I'm a little bit slower, he'll kind of walk in front of me and open the door. So, but I feel like he always has to at least like help.
Okay, okay. I like it because we had not a heated discussion. We had quite the discussion about this because we weren't sure, you know, and so
Yeah.
I think our end result was it would be okay if he opened the first door and she opened the second. But
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying because I'll do that, and then Lee will often take the door from me.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay.
So I find myself doing that. when we first started talking, I was like, I think she opens up the second door, and then kind of like I show her from the first door, and she shows me for the second door. But then I realized that I end up just taking the door from her, so she'll open up the door, but she goes in first. So
Oh,
Yeah.
after that podcast, I was consciously trying to like, okay, do I do this? Do I do that? I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. Okay, but yeah, totally.
I love it. I love it.
Good.
So Jen,
Okay.
where
Sorry.
can people find you if they want to help you design your next tattoo? If they want to check out a Pixis drone show, where can they find you?
Instagram, DAABEERS, and then our company website is Pixis Drones on all social platforms as well.
Love it. Russell, if people want to come, I don't know, bring you a cup of water when you're not feeling too well, or ask you what your favorite ride at Disney is, or come get a tattoo with Whimsy, where can they find you?
Revolt Tattoos. There's 2 of them in Las Vegas, so make sure you go to the Meadows Mall. That's where I'm at. Yeah, you can check me up on Instagram at 11 Main Street. It's 11 spelled out. You'll see a little Funko guy. It's great. Come with me with anything that you have in mind. Like before we were talking about, I'm kind of well-rounded, but I do specialize in patchwork, anime, and watercolor. So, those are my specialities. So if you ever want to get a tattooed and you're in Las Vegas, please come see me. We'll have a great time. We'll talk about stuff.
And do a happy dance.
Yes.
Yes, do the happy dance.
Yep. We're all gonna happy dance. Watercolor's a tough one, and Russell, you do it very well. So, Jen and Russell, I am so stoked that I got to spend episode 100, which is a pretty monumental thing, with 2 of my favorite people. Thank you guys so much, not only for being here with me today and for everything that you have given the audience, but for being with me through this entire journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media so you'll never miss what's going on. Remember, until next week, you are strong enough, you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.